Hello, this is Optimus Solo, and welcome to the Mayhem. This is Mass Mayhem, Episode 3, and with me, as always, is my Rhino co-pilot, TF G1 Mike. Welcome aboard, man.
Hello.
And in this episode of Mass Mayhem, we will be giving you our thoughts on 3 episodes this time. Episode 4, Highway to Terror, Episode 5, Video Venom, and Episode 6, Dinosaur Boy. So buckle up and enjoy the ride.
It's all set.
Did you see those army guys?
The trapdoors and smoke bombs worked like a charm.
Yeah. Wonder what the captain said when he found out his shipment was missing.
Well, if he knew what we were going to do with the plutonium, I don't think he'd be too happy.
Starting us off today is Episode 4, Highway to Terror. Not to be confused with the 80s show Highway to Heaven. It's the opposite of that. We'll just give you a little plot synopsis first for Episode 4. We start off seeing a army convoy going down the street, and it has a roadblock in the middle of the road, which is Miles Mayhem sitting in a rocking chair. Then, with a bunch of help of trapdoors and smoke bombs, Venom steals one of the trucks from the army convoy that is carrying a load of plutonium.
You just ruined the illusion.
Shut
It's magic!
M.A.S.K gets informed of the theft by a guy named Dwayne, who is just excellently voiced. And then, of course, M.A.S.K assembles and goes after said plutonium. But before that, halfway to their trip to get back the plutonium, they do need to drop Scott off first to go fishing. So there is that little thing happening. And then once they get to the scene and they've dropped Scott off, M.A.S.K tries to find out how the truck disappeared. While they're doing that, there is a series of tremor-like earthquake things, buildings are falling down, etc., and they are basically confused as to what is going on. Then we have the showdown between, this happens every episode, the M.A.S.K and Venom showdown, which is basically a fight, and M.A.S.K is trying to get the box back that is causing the tremors and earthquakes, etc.
Yes.
Meanwhile, flip over to our friends Scott and T-Bob, who are fishing. Well, they're done fishing. Dude's cooking them their dinner, their fish, and so now they're going to go swimming. But they jump into the lake, and the lake is about half full of water. The water has been draining out of the lake. So Scott makes a friendly phone call to his dad and says, "Hey, the lake's not right." He says, that's weird. And then they figure out that it's obviously due to some type of connection with what Venom's doing. So they set up a trap for Venom. And basically what they do is they have another army convoy set up so that Venom will play the same tricks and steal it again. But this time inside the army truck, instead of what Venom wants, will be the M.A.S.K team. So that is a very large truck that is holding a medium-sized large truck. And basically, with this trap, there's another little showdown between M.A.S.K and Venom, and M.A.S.K saves the day.
At least it wasn't a chase this time.
Yeah, really no chase happening so much. More trickery and ambushes and traps and whatnot. As far as our members go, we're still with 4 Venom members. Miles, Vanessa is back now, and then Sly and Cliff. And we have the entire squad of M.A.S.K members. We have all 8 of them. Now, hey, I don't know how close you've been paying attention to the M.A.S.K process, the scenes where the M.A.S.K come down.
Yeah.
Is there always 8 chairs?
Um.
Because I saw in this one there's 8 chairs and they're all filled up. So I'm assuming there's always 8 chairs. So this is like the max. This is the biggest team we can have.
I would assume so. I would have to go back and look. I had not been focusing on that because, to me, at this point, even though we're only 4 episodes into the series, the mask scene where they're after the team's been assembled, after the awesome computer announces who the team members are going to be, and they're sitting at the round table, and King Matt is has his Excalibur voice and whatever else. That to me at this point, even though we're only 4 episodes in, is just stock animation. Just like the He-Man transformation, just like Optimus Prime transforming in season 1 of G1.
It has been, but as we go through today, it'll change a little bit.
Yeah, it does change. I did notice the changes, but
I think 8 is the max number we can have. We'll have to keep a lookout to see if there's ever a different amount of chairs. But there was 8 chairs; they were all filled, and we also, therefore, since the whole team was assembled, got to see all 5 vehicles.
Yeah.
On the M.A.S.K team. So, what are your thoughts about the 8-on-4 or any of the plot synopsis points?
Well,
I mean, like you said, it wasn't a chase.
it wasn't Chase.
You got magic in there and traps and trapdoors.
Yeah,
and smoke
yeah. It's
bombs.
like where's Houdini or David Copperfield or Chris Angel when you really need them?
Has there ever been an 80s or 70s or maybe even 90s action show that at one episode along the course of the series doesn't have something to do with plutonium or some type of radioactive material?
No. I mean, plutonium, especially in the 80s, was your average red herring ultimate doom weapon.
Yeah.
No disrespect to this movie. I absolutely love this movie. Back to the Future. You have an entire what is it? What is that movie? An hour and a half?
Probably.
You have an entire full-length movie based around something that runs. The time circuits run on plutonium. I mean,
This to me is the most balanced plot we've had so far.
Yes, I will agree to that.
And my point about being balanced will come up later, but
Right.
Up to this point, we've really had we started off with no plot in the first episode, and we started to get a little bit more plot in episode 2 and 3, and this one is a little bit more than that. So this is the farthest we've come plot wise.
Yes, especially with the fact that Matt actually knows where his son is this time.
Yeah.
And they don't sneak off.
Yeah, that's true too. I do like the fact that M.A.S.K has 8 members and 5 vehicles, and Venom has 4 members. And what are they using? 3 or 4 vehicles? They're using at least 3.
They use at least 4 because Vanessa has her own. Cliff Dagger has his own, and then Slyrax has the motorcycle with the sidecar, and then Miles has the Switchblade.
So it's like if you're a Venom member, you get your own vehicle.
Essentially, yes.
If you're a M.A.S.K member, you're most likely partnered up with somebody.
Just except for Matt. Well, in the instance where Matt commits Grand Theft Rhino, but we'll get to that later.
There's one other person that's not doesn't have a co-pilot, which would be the does the bike have a co-pilot? Or the copter?
Buddies. No. Yeah. Buddies doesn't. So
Right.
Buddy.
Buddy and Matt.
Yeah. Buddy and Matt's vehicles don't have co-pilots.
The other 3 are paired up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like I said, the best plot we've seen so far. I can't say much more than that.
All of a sudden, Clear Lake is half empty. There's got to be a connection between that and its closeness to Central City.
Allow me, Matt. If you pump enough water into an earthquake fault, you can create enough pressure to make the fault give way.
If I were to make an educated guess, Venom stole the plutonium for the earthquake device nuclear water pump. Which means they can cause earthquakes, right?
Yeah, that's why they're trying to get that computer box.
If Venom got a hold of it, they'd be able to direct earthquakes to large cities, to bring attention to themselves as a world power. If they want it so desperately, why don't we let them have it?
All right, it's time to turn the high beams on and talk about our favorite parts of Episode 4. Mike, start us off.
Uh,
It's high beams, remember.
I know.
This is when we're positive and cheery.
I know. I have to find a certain puppet YouTube clip. It disappeared. It just fucking disappeared.
At the beginning, I had no clue what was going on. I was like,
the whole thing with the magical and the smoke and mirrors. I had no idea what the hell was going on either. But as soon as they're like, where'd they go? The first thing that popped into my head was Peanut. Jeff Dunham. It disappeared. It just fucking disappeared.
It was similar to what it was kind of like with the monk from the last episode where he all of a sudden, like, it seemed like he was everywhere and you're trying to figure out how the heck is this happening, except for this time it's actually Venom and they're doing it even to a more grand scale where it's like, how is he transporting himself and disappearing and reappearing and all this other stuff? But
yeah,
it was definitely interesting.
That actually ties into my second note. Interesting way to pull off a heist. I mean, because we don't find out until the end how they're actually doing it. I mean, you kind of mentioned it in the plot where, Rhodes,
Lower
and higher and whatever else. But just that first scene of them pulling this scheme off, it's a very interesting way to pull off a heist.
And as a kid, I can imagine people being like, how did trying to figure out the whole episode, how'd that happen? Until it's finally revealed.
Yeah, going into my noticing of what the team members are doing when they are called.
I started looking at that a little bit more.
At least Hondo dropped the ball after being in the end zone. At least he didn't run off with the football.
That's true, and he left it so everybody else could play.
Now, I don't know. People can correct me. You can correct me. I don't know if it's which one is which, because I wasn't sure. But my note says, since when do alligators and/or crocodiles eat carrots? Because Alex was feeding an alligator or I know the difference between the two species is one has a longer snout, one has a shorter snout, but I wasn't sure if it was an alligator or a crocodile he was feeding.
But that doesn't seem like is one of them more carnivorous than the other? I don't know.
But I've never seen someone feed either species carrots. I mean, carrots are for, wisecracking rabbits from the 1920s.
That's true. That's definitely true.
And again, as I mentioned in the plot that we did, at least Matt knows where his son is, and at least Scott and T-Bob stay fucking put.
That's true.
I was very happy of that this episode.
I think this is the first time we've seen him not involved in the actual action.
Yeah. Because as soon as Scott said, "Yeah, we get to go on a mission," and I'm like, "Oh no, you got to be kidding me!" And then Matt says, "Well, at least halfway there, we're dropping you off at the babysitter's or whoever's place it was." And as I mentioned earlier with Matt and Grand Theft Rhino. I mean, Matt essentially takes Rhino over this episode.
Yeah.
It's like Alex shows up, but what does he do?
That's true. He's like, I'm going to borrow Rhino, okay?
Yeah, exactly. But that's all I have for highlights, or high beams.
Apparently people are going to think I'm not a very good Mask reviewer or fan because I can never keep track not only the powers that each one has, but the vehicles' names.
Okay.
There is what are the the bicycles?
Condor.
Condor is the Mask one.
Yep.
And I can't remember the name of the Venom one.
I can never remember the name of the Venom one.
But anyways, there is a bike showdown.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool that they paired off and went mano-a-mano for a little while.
Yeah, that was very cool.
I like that. I liked the trap that Mask set and the fact that you get to see Rhino coming out of that huge truck. And then all the other cars follow it.
Yeah.
That was a nice little clever way, because I didn't know exactly how they were doing it at first. I knew that it was a trap.
Yeah.
But I thought they were going to take him down and Mask would be down there waiting for him. I didn't realize they were going to be inside the actual army truck. So I thought that was a little cool thing. I also liked, not only was there a little bit more plot in this episode, there was a lot more talking amongst the Mask members.
Yeah, there was.
And And I thought the talking gave us a tiny bit of character development because we got to hear Alex and we got to hear Dusty and all of them talk a little bit more than we have before.
Right.
There's even one point where they're all sitting around the table and you kind of hear one talking right after the other. And I just liked the amount of talking we got, and there wasn't as much dead space in this episode where you're just kind of waiting for stuff to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
So those were my high beams.
Dad! Dad, are you going on a mission?
I'm afraid so, Scott.
All right. When do we leave?
Shortly, but you're only going halfway. I'm dropping you off at Clear Lake with Mr. Spencer. You know where the 3-pounders are?
And where the 1.5-pound rubber boots are, too.
Tell you what, if I catch my limit on the first day, will you come and get me?
Nice try, Scott. No deals. Now get packed.
Now it's time to turn the high beams off and turn on the low beams. I'll get us started here. When Matt is telling Scott that they're going to go halfway and he's going to drop him off or whatever, did you notice the scene right at the end where Matt starts like saying now gets packing and he starts clapping? He looks like a retarded seal. Like he starts clapping like a retard, like let's go, and I was like, wow, that was terribly animated. So that was just a nitpick. My biggest thing so far, and it's going to be a theme throughout this episode, is can we just get a nanny or babysitter? I don't care. How about a butler? Somebody to watch Scott at Matt Tracker's house.
Yeah.
And so Scott's there, and you leave. Usually when adults leave their kids or they're going off to something, they have somebody watching them.
Yeah.
We don't need to drop him off somewhere every time. We don't need to bring him with us every time. Matt, you have to be rich as hell. You live in a fucking mansion that is connected to a headquarters of technological genius vehicles, and you have to have money.
Yeah.
Hire a freaking person to take care of your kid.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's starting to bug me.
Yeah.
It was
already bugging me at this point.
There was another scene, and I'm going to get it wrong now. I don't remember if it was Slyrax or Cliff Dagger, who was carrying the box, the black box, or whatever you want to call it. Not black box, but the box that was helping to do the tremors and whatnot. Right. They're trying to get it and whatever, and there's a point where he loses it and it's on the ground, and instead of just picking it up, he just runs to his vehicle and drives off. Yeah. Like, I think he had enough time to grab it.
Yeah, he would have, but that would have...
Especially since it was important.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just a dumb villain move right there, not to grab the shit you're supposed to be, stealing or whatever. I don't know.
So far, if there's one thing Venom is very bad about, it is holding on to things.
Yes, exactly.
And then there was the bonehead move of the episode when Miles Mayhem shoots at Matt, even though Matt is right in front of the whole contraption that Venom has been using to do all their destruction.
Yes. Matt just dives out of the way.
And then Venom, or Miles, has basically blown up his own device.
Yes.
You idiot.
But again, that's a classic 80s cliche.
Right. No, I just needed to point it out as
right. No. Yeah. I mean, you can look at anything in the 80s. I mean, even nowadays, they still do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Those are my lowest moments. But like I said, it wasn't like a bunch of bad stuff. Besides the bad animation on him clapping and kind of being annoyed that nobody's watching Scott, the rest of them are kind of just moments that I understand why they were like that. Because the villains are supposed to be somewhat dumb.
Yeah, I've been noticing more when I watch these. This episode specifically. Yes, I'm starting to talk like Daffy Duck.
I thought you were going to go back to the carrots.
No, I'm not going back to the carrots. Have you noticed anything with T-Bob's voice this episode? Did you notice the difference?
It didn't strike me as anything alarming.
Oh my god.
It didn't. I didn't even hardly pay attention to it, I don't think.
Between now and the time we record the next episode, I want you to go back to episode 1 and then watch. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Watch episode 1. No, seriously.
No, I'm just laughing at thought of any of us watching these episodes again.
What? No, I'm dead serious because it did change. Watch it. Watch 5 minutes with T-Bob in episode 1 and watch 5 minutes with T-Bob here. T-Bob's fucking voice is still the same. It's still not the same as in episodes 1 and 2. What the fuck? And I had to fast forward the scenes with T-Bob because it nearly made my ears fucking bleed. It's so horribly bad.
I don't think it's that horribly bad. I think you're exaggerating a little bit. But,
no,
but the voice connoisseur will go back and investigate.
Yes. And again, another voice note here. Even at one point, Miles Mann's voice is off. It's when he says, "This should slow him down." It's not the same voice. It's not the friggin' same thing.
I think what we probably have is it's the same people. They're just not as trained in the art of voice acting, and they're just not as good at being consistent as we're used to.
That might have. I can make that excuse for Miles. I can't make that excuse for T-Bob because it is two extremely different voices. At least to me, it is.
I will investigate.
Yes. At the end, there's no way in hell, in that tight of quarters underground, that Rhino could make that turn that it did. No way that a semi like that could make that kind of turn, especially in that small of a space.
I also like the what's Miles' helicopter plane called?
Switchblade.
Yeah, I also like the Switchblade flying around down there.
Yeah, there's no way in hell that would happen either.
They're like underground in tunnels, and the helicopters and the semi-trucks are having no problem.
Exactly. And my last low beam actually has to do with the PSA for this episode. How, and this is in all caps, so I have to kind of yell it. How the fuck is a metallic robot hot? Fucking hell, oh my god. A fucking metallic being robot should not be able to feel...
Yeah, because that sun's just going to radiate off of that metal, man. Have you ever touched a car in the sun? That shit's hot.
But the way that they're trying to portray or show T-Bob is they're trying to get him to be relatable, and they're trying to get him to have human emotions. Robots are fucking machines.
Hey, this is coming from a Transformers fan where all of them have thoughts and feelings and sentient beings and all this nonsense.
There's a difference between being a sentient robotic being and being a sentient human being. Anyway, that's it for my low beams on this one.
Oh my.
Vanessa and Rex have hooked up the black box. The entire town will soon be under my control. Now we'll cut off all communication lines to and from the city. Dagger, you take out the phone lines. I'll knock down the radio communications tower.
So now let's shift our attention to the next episode we're talking about today, which is episode 5, Video Venom. Video killed the radio star? That's what I feel like it should be. So we've had Highway to Heaven and Video killed the radio star. As far as the synopsis for plot synopsis for episode 5, Venom takes over a TV station. I assume it's some type of television station, radio station, whatever.
It is a TV station, yes.
Yeah. And they use this little black box to put a frequency signal out there, which is hypnotizing people.
Yes.
Then we see one of the TV station guys who doesn't get hypnotized apparently runs away, and he's like running for his life, and then he runs into the middle of the road and is found by somebody.
Actually, he's not really to correct you, but he's found by Gloria.
Right, found by Gloria,
yeah.
who then obviously we have another situation where somebody is being taken to Matt's house.
Hey, at least he didn't just show up there.
And at least it was a M.A.S.K agent that was
yes, exactly.
taking him there. And then we're shown Matt's house, which we kind of get a side shot here of Scott and T-Bob out in the lawn golfing, and Scott breaks the window. And then we have Matt, who is kind of figuring out what's going on. He checks some stuff out, and he's trying to warn the city that, Venom's in their area, etc., but he can't because the communication lines are down. Mm-hmm. So therefore he must assemble the team because the police can't help because he can't contact them. The M.A.S.K assembly was a little faster in this episode.
Yes, it was.
So the team assembles, goes out there, and then we get a flash to Venom, who is hijacking a train, and then they're also booby-trapping a bridge, so if M.A.S.K comes across it, they can blow them to smithereens. And then we get our episodic M.A.S.K and Venom showdown.
Mm-hmm.
Venom leaves. It's just two of them at this point. It's Vanessa and Cliff, I think.
Yeah.
Cliff Dagger and Vanessa. They're trying to hold him off and kind of kill time and keep M.A.S.K at bay for a while, but eventually they give up and they leave. And then M.A.S.K begins searching for the train, and they can't figure out where it is and what's happened, etc. Eventually, though, they catch up to where Venom is. They take out the black box that is creating the hypnotic waves, so to speak, and then they try to stop the ultimate thing that's been the goal for Venom the entire time, which is this massive laser, which apparently he is going to use to shoot the oil supply.
Now I need to explain something to the listeners for those of you who have not seen this episode. We finally, out of all these episodes, the previous 4 episodes, we finally get a friggin' location as to where Venom actually is. They're in a small town in Texas.
Yes.
Part of the plot is they want to destroy the oil.
Right.
For the oil companies to then pay them ransom for destroying their product.
It's a weird situation here. But obviously M.A.S.K saves the day.
Yeah.
We have the same assembly as we had last time. We have the 4 Venom agents. We have the 8 M.A.S.K agents. Nothing has changed as far as that goes.
No.
I did notice in the M.A.S.K assembly that when the computer picks out the team, unless I have just not caught it, this is the first time I noticed that after the computer got done saying all the members, Matt says, personnel approved, assemble Mobile Armored Strike Command.
That is the first time he says Mobile Armored Strike Command.
Has he approved the personnel every time?
It's
the first time I've heard him say that.
Right, yeah.
So he asks the computer to assemble the team, then he approves it, and then he actually does the first time we've seen the M.A.S.K set out, Mobile Armored Strike Command, and it caught me immediately.
Yep.
So I thought that was kind of different and kind of cool, as well as being a faster sequence this time when the team is assembled and then the M.A.S.K come down and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on the plot for Video Venom?
Oh, boy. Replace... Now, Cliff Dagger is nowhere near... the person I'm going to equate him with is nowhere near as bad as he is as far as intelligent-wise, but replace Cliff Dagger with Starscream, replace Miles Mayhem with Megatron. This is a Transformers plot all over again. It just is. Because I remember in G1 that Megatron did, at least one time, a hypnotizing to allow humans to build...
Right.
It? Dr. Arkeville, the Ultimate Doom 3-parter. That's exactly what it was. Dr. Arkeville created hypno chips versus going to a TV station and broadcasting something, but they had all these slit. I mean, the plot is essentially interchangeable with a Transformers episode.
Right.
It's better than at least episode 2 and episode 3. I wouldn't say it's... I still think so far out of the ones we've talked about today, obviously we're only 2 episodes into the 3 episodes today, but the Highway to Terror one was better as far as the plot goes than this, because this just...
Was there a point where Vanessa starts driving Miles?
Yes, she does get into Switchblade.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but so that's a couple episodes in a row where we see random people driving other people's vehicles.
Yep.
So it's not exclusive.
Nope.
I thought it was interesting when she got in there. I was like, whoa. Crazy. Yeah, I mean, this plot... I really have to save my thoughts on the plot for a little bit later.
Okay.
God, is this what they mean by getting teed off?
Wow, look at it go! And I didn't even touch the grass.
Alrighty, it's time for the high beams of Video Venom.
I think I'm gonna take this one.
Good.
Uh, T-Bob's voice is finally back to normal.
You are the T-Bob expert, apparently.
It's the non-ear bleeding version of his voice this time. There was only one team notification scene that was worth mentioning. It's where I forget who it is. It's not. Is it? No, it's not Hondo. It's one of the other guys. He just threw the stamps at the guy.
Oh yeah.
At the gas station. I think it was Dusty or it was it was either
Dusty or Buddy.
It was Brad or Buddy, I think, because Dusty is the pizza guy.
Yeah.
The anti-gravity cannon, I thought that was really friggin' cool when it's not used on its own vehicle, but I'll get to that in a minute. But no, using it against other things, I think that's really, really cool. Homer Simpson drool. Vanessa.
She's hot.
Yes, she is, very. Okay, the chase scene with the Switchblade and the Thunderhawk was awesome, yet at the same time, how are the Thunderhawk's doors or the Switchblade's wings still intact? Those trees look like they were awfully close.
Yeah, I don't know how they were getting between those trees.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like...
So that's excellent piloting.
Yeah. I mean, like, I can see the Switchblade doing it because it's a really sleek, thin plane, but the Thunderhawk, they're fucking car doors. They're not actual wings. They're car doors that act like wings. And this is what we mentioned earlier. I guess it's share and share alike when it comes to the M.A.S.K team and their vehicles. It also goes for Venom as well. And my side note at the bottom of that is, Gloria. That's all I got.
I'm going to be the second time we're going to tie in a PSA to our regular discussion here because I searched. I watched the episode. I rewatched parts of the episode, and I was searching for a highlight. Searching for something good I could say. And the best thing I came up with is this is the most ever in possibly any 80s show that I have seen the PSA directly connected and tied into a scene from the actual episode. So in the episode early on, Scott and T-Bob are out golfing, and Scott hits the ball and breaks a window, and Matt picks up the ball and is like, "Oh, kids," and the window remains broken. And then at the end, the PSA, they are fixing the window.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it was clever that it was actually connected. It wasn't just a random scene. It was something directly connected to something that happened in the episode.
Yep.
And I don't ever remember seeing that in any show in the 80s. I mean, I'm sure it happened, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was cool. That is the only good thing I can say about this episode.
Oh, no. The fuel tank is leaking. Dagger, I'm landing in town for repairs. I'm leaving the rest to you.
Wait, I'm leaving too.
All right, Mike, turn on your low beams.
Oh boy, I don't have many because I know I can just tell the tone of your voice that you have a lot of stuff to say about.
I find myself feeling like Debbie Downer here.
Okay, mine are just like 1-point bullet notes. Mind control episode, really typical 80s villain move. Laser cannon caper, ugh. Rhino using anti-grav on itself should not have fucking worked. The only way that I would have believed that scene is if they said they were retro rockets or something that could have been reversed versus anti-grav on itself. That made no sense to me. The laser cannon apparently is fucking invincible. Are you kidding me? Seriously. Nothing will work on this laser cannon. None of the M.A.S.K weapons from the vehicles worked on this laser cannon.
Except for the one that turns it into sunlight.
Let's do everything with sunshine. Sunny day. Sorry.
Oh my.
Okay, my final note has to do with the PSA for this one. Toes have circuits now? Really? Seriously? Are you fucking kidding me? First of all, how the fuck is putting T-Bob's foot under a ladder make the ladder level? Wouldn't you have just moved the fucking ladder, straightened out the fucking rug, and it would have been
Very
fine?
violent. Very violent. See, the PSA is like a two-sided sword or whatever for me here, because on one hand it's directly connected to a scene in the episode, and I love that. But on the other hand, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard talked about in a PSA.
Yes, exactly.
Trying to make sure your ladder is level before you climb up it. And then they use T-Bob's foot. That's, yeah. Okay, I will,
Go ahead.
I'm going to try to go in from least bad to
Worst.
most unforgivable.
Yes. Okay.
The first one, which, okay, I can kind of give it a little bit. Rhino uses its anti-grav or whatever beams to transport the vehicles across the chasm. Then, after it's done that and it's just Rhino by itself, they just jump the chasm.
God, I'm speechless because I don't know.
He used the beams and he transported the other cars there, and then it's like, oh, it's our turn. We can't use the beams on ourselves, so they just backed up a little, I think, and jumped the chasm.
Well, what they did was, like I mentioned earlier, they used, instead of using the anti-grav, instead of encapsulating themselves and them levitating over it, they used it like you would use retro rockets.
Okay.
It just think of... Weird.
I wanted Rhino to have to be left behind in that.
Okay. Think of... Oh, God, what is it?
Just give it a boost.
Right. Have you ever seen any episodes of Knight Rider?
Yes.
Think of... I forget which episode it is off the top of my head, even though I'm a Knight Rider guru. But there are times where Kit will use his turbo boost function in reverse.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like reverse turbo boost.
Yeah.
This is
That's why I said I can forgive this one the most. This one's not that big a deal. But I just, at first, I'm like, no, the truck should have had to stay. There's no way the truck gets over the chasm. All right. Second, the zombies, the hypnotic people. Miles directs them to attack the M.A.S.K vehicles, which results in the people just surrounding the vehicles and doing nothing. Like, there's just dozens and dozens of people, like, he's like, attack the vehicles, and they just walk up to the vehicles and stand there. They're not even hitting it with their hands. They're not throwing rocks at it. They're not hitting it. They're not doing anything.
Right. Well, the thing here is, and this is really not me trying to explain it away, but again, it's, if you look at it in putting the humans in the way as a, human shield to, pardon the pun, M.A.S.K can't attack Venom without hitting the humans.
I just wanted them to at least hit the cars. Like, punch them, like, hit them with your fists.
Kick the fender.
And I can somewhat forgive that. All right. The two biggest things that I didn't like as far as Venom goes is Vanessa is dealing with Matt in their little chase. And she's trying to hold him off as long as she can, and then her fuel tank gets damaged, a hole in it, whatever. She's leaking fuel. She has to basically leave. And she's like, Cliff, I think it's Cliff Dagger, hold him off as long as you can. I gotta go land.
Yeah, it was.
And 1 second later, he's like, what? I'm leaving too. And he just leaves. Like, how is that? Like, you're supposed to be holding M.A.S.K off as long as possible. Like, she's like, it's up to you to do everything you can to stop them. And he's like, nope, I am out of here. That was like a what the fuck moment right there. Mm-hmm. I do not want him on my team. And then, I love it at the end there. They Vanessa and Cliff finally catch up to Miles and Sly.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we held them off as long as possible. We did everything we could. We would have been here sooner. I had to repair, the hole in the gas tank or whatever. But we held them off, and we're here. 2 seconds later, M.A.S.K arrives.
I know.
They literally were right behind them. Like, they did not hold them off apparently at all.
Yeah, no,
like,
not
there
at
should
all.
have been a little bit of time in between when she said that and when M.A.S.K showed up.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
But my biggest unforgivable thing about this episode, we started the series with no plot in episode 1. We've gradually been getting more and more plot. Now on this one, they went completely stark raving mad overboard and threw 18 plots into this episode.
Yeah.
Like, you have them getting the black box and hypnotizing the people. You have them hijacking a train. So at first you think they're just going to hypnotize the people and they're going to use that in some way. But then it's like, no, that's not what we're doing. We're hypnotizing the people and we're hijacking a train. And then it's like, well, we're not just hijacking a train. We're hijacking a train because there's a laser in it.
Well, the reason why they had to hypnotize the people is because so they would have the people build the laser.
Right, but I'm just saying, it like kept building. Like, it was like, we have the people, then we're going to get the train, but it's not the train, it's the laser inside the train. And then it's not the laser that we're going to use to, like, do something crazy. We're going to point the laser at the oil, and we're going to demand money from the oil people. But then that doesn't work because the laser, like, so then he's going to try to shoot the oil. It was like the plot was like being written as the episode was happening.
Yes.
It was like the plot was not decided before this episode.
No.
And as stuff happened, it was like, oh, that didn't work. We have to rewrite this part and go here with it, and then go there with it. And it was like, it was an overkill for me. There was too many plots in this episode.
Yeah, there was.
It was taking too many directions. M.A.S.K was after, like, M.A.S.K had like 18 objectives in this episode. And they did most of them, but there was too much stuff for M.A.S.K. I mean, or not M.A.S.K, Venom. There's too many objectives. Like, they gotta hypnotize the people. They gotta get the train. They got to booby trap the bridge. Then they gotta hold off M.A.S.K for a while. Then they gotta get the laser ready and get the money from the oil people. But then that doesn't work. So then they have to have the people attack M.A.S.K. Then they have to point the laser at the oil. Like, it's too much for me. Maybe I'm alone. Maybe a lot of people are like, "Ooh, that was a that was a complex plot."
No, that was not a complex plot at all. That was a very convoluted plot.
It was just too much.
Way too much going on.
I did think though that something I didn't say before though. This episode again really didn't involve Scott and T-Bob.
No, it didn't. But we'll make up for that.
I'm just saying, it was another one where they were left at home and they didn't do anything to...
Yeah, that'll be remedied soon.
So, yeah, that's the worst of the worst for this episode.
Ludwig von Ryan. Who's that? A billionaire who made his money dishonestly.
Sounds like good company for Venom.
What do you think the Golden Boy's doing with Venom? Von Ryan's an old man. He's got more money than he could ever spend. What's the one thing money can't buy?
A longer life?
Right. Doesn't the legend say these creatures live hundreds of years?
And if a human was injected with dinosauroid antibodies, he might live a few hundred extra years.
The poor little boy creature.
Let's go.
All right, the final episode that we will be talking about today is episode 6, Dinosaur Boy.
Ugh.
And let's get right into the plot of episode 6, Dinosaur Boy. We start off in the jungle. Why we're in the jungle, I wasn't sure at first, but we're in the jungle, and there's some natives that are guiding Venom through the jungle. Nice natives that they are. But then they get to the point where they have reached the sacred grounds, and the guides are like, that's as far as we go. Venom's like, no, we're going to keep going, and the guides run off. Then Venom basically finds and reveals the lizards, the dinosaurs. And there's like, ooh, those are some big dinosaurs. Let's steal the baby. So they steal the baby. Now, cycle to Alex Sector, who is randomly taking pictures in the same jungle. And he runs into the natives, and he calls Matt and says, we got a problem. Venom stealing dinosaur babies. So Matt's like, well, duh, we better assemble the team. So Matt's team is assembled, and Scott and T-Bob are invited to go into the jungle with M.A.S.K on the mission.
Worst fucking plot ever.
Not ever.
At least to this point.
Okay, lizard god, because the natives considered a god. Lizard daddy god or mama god or both gods are on a rampage.
Yes.
They're without their baby. They're going a little crazy.
Well, I don't. No, the mother wasn't there. I don't
I think
think
it was just the dad. He's creating some havoc.
Dad, yeah.
And M.A.S.K is trying to, once they get on the scene, they're trying to track it down and whatever. Flip over to Venom, who is going to trade with this mad scientist guy. I forget what they called him. He had a name. They named him, but I don't remember what his name is.
Generic 80s mad scientist dude.
Yeah, and they're trading like these antibodies from the dinosaur, which is supposed to basically help create longevity and longer life, etc. So there's a trade going on there, money and antibodies and the dinosaur babies involved, etc. Scott and T-Bob, meanwhile, who were at like some type of like cabin or whatever, decide to leave and try to track down the baby because Scott feels some type of connection because he's a boy and the dinosaur is a boy, and he thinks he's going to be able to communicate with him. It is at this point. It was at this point, though, about 2/3 to 3/4 into the episode that the plot was finally revealed as to what Venom was doing, as far as the mad scientists and stuff. It was forever before we could figure out why Venom was in the jungle and why they took the baby. It took forever for us to figure that out.
It's to get the dino DNA because apparently the antibodies in the dino
I'm saying
DNA.
we didn't know that until like the episode's almost over.
Right. Yeah.
Then there's the M.A.S.K and Venom showdown, like there is in every episode, and in the process, the scientist, crazy scientist guy, drops the container of antibodies as he's being lifted away in the helicopter or whatever. Scott and T-Bob then free the dinosaur baby. Dinosaur Daddy comes to kill Scott, but the dinosaur baby says, "Don't kill Scott and T-Bob. They help me," and everybody lives happily ever after. As far as the agents go, we still have our 4 regular Venom agents, and mask-wise, we have gone down. We had 8 the last 2 episodes. This time, we only have 5. We got Matt, Alex Sector, Bruce Sato, Gloria, and Dusty. So we're a 5-on-4 team this time.
Yes.
So it's a little more even. Thoughts on the plot, sir?
I give the plot a 0. A big fucking 0. This episode had no emotion towards it until the very end where you see the dinosaur family reunite. It had, Scott thinking he has a connection to a freaking dinosaur. Technically, dinosaurs, even in the 80s, dinosaurs should not have existed.
These were never discovered.
Yeah.
It's basically like we've been saying. We started at 0 plot, and we were going up and up and up and up, and then I got to episode 5, and it went like so freaking crazy that it was like the climax, and now we're starting from scratch again.
Yeah, essentially, yes.
So, yeah, that was an interesting way to get dinosaurs into a kids show because kids like dinosaurs.
What are these lizard gods supposed to be?
Tall tales and legends, I always thought. Whatever they are, the kidnapping is threatening war between the tribes.
They're blaming each other for the theft?
Righto. They think it's some sort of power play.
All right, let's turn on the high beams while we can for Dinosaur Boy.
I still love the assembling of the team, even though the montage is getting to the point where at times it's stock animation. I still love, mainly why I love the.
It was different. This episode and last episode were a little different, though. They sped it up a little bit,
right?
And this one didn't have as many people,
right? I think the one reason why I love the assembling of the team is not. It's not because of the computer, doing all that. It's not because of what that part of announcing who the team members are going to be. But like when they actually get there, and it's the music. It's the music that gets me every time on assembling the team. Yeah. I wish to God somebody back in the 80s had the sense to find a way around all the sound effects and the voices to get that music out of this show. Because I would love to be able to just listen to that music by itself.
Yeah, music is one of the highlights of this entire series, that's for sure.
Yes. Matt gets trapped and sent down the shaft. And then he gets lifted back up and sent back down, and oh god, it's what is it? Tower, not highway, Tower of Terror from Disney parks. It's like, oh god, I don't want to go on that amusement park ride.
That was funny.
It's like, but that's it. Honestly, for me, is just those two things for high beams for this episode.
Well, I'm only driving with one headlight, so the only thing I can say on this episode is it was almost like a spotlight episode for Alex Sector, and he got a lot more attention and a lot more dialogue, and so I guess there was some character development for Alex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a little bit.
That's all I got.
Hi, Scott. Hi, T-Bob. So, your dad decided to take you on a mission.
Well, not really, but he promised I could go and see a little of the jungle anyway.
As little as possible, if you ask me.
All right, time for the low beams. I really wish there wasn't as many. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but
I have 7.
Well, let me start then.
Go ahead.
First of all, where the hell are we? We got our one episode where we found out we were in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in South America or something.
Yeah.
And not only where the hell are we, but dinosaurs?
I know.
What the fuck is going on with this episode so far? And along the lines of dinosaurs or lizard gods or whatever you want to call them, this, folks, is an example of what animals sound like in cartoons that Frank Welker isn't involved with.
Yes, exactly.
The lizard growls and sound effects are awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Anybody that wants to see, I mean, you almost have to watch part of this episode to see how bad the growls and the yelps and the everything, like absolutely terrible sound effects.
Before you continue, I just have to question something here. When the two guides at the beginning are like, "Oh, it's the gods, man! It's the gods! Oh my God, we're going. We can't go any further. This is sacred ground." And then when they run into Alex and they said gods with powers, I thought that they were, when they said, because one of my notes is killer gods. Ugh. I thought they were referring to the Venom members, not the dinosaur.
Well, they were talking about the gods, and then they were talking about the men from space with the powers also.
Right. Oh, okay.
I could deal without the evolution nonsense that they put in there.
Yeah.
And the fact that these apparently are the ancestors of Stegosauruses. That was just stupid. First, Miles drops the damn book out the truck window a couple episodes ago. Now this guy drops the antibodies from the helicopter. Can you guys freaking keep a hold of anything? And then the other box that Cliff Dagger or whatever dropped 2 episodes ago. These guys cannot hold on to anything. They need those sticky gloves.
Yes.
Come on, Venom. You're disappointing me. And going back to the theme here, get your kid a nanny.
Oh, God.
There's one with a really annoying voice that doesn't work right now because nobody will hire her. You can get her. Get anybody. Get a butler. Get a doorman. Get a nephew. Get a kid down the street to watch your fucking kid. You do not take your kid to the Amazon when Venom and lizard gods are causing havoc.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to get to go along with this mission. Well, kind of. What the fuck are you taking them for? Can no one take care of these kids? Does Matt Tracker have no friends?
Well, he does, but they're all on the mission with him.
Does he have no family?
Apparently not.
No, there's no mom. But there's got to be a grandma. Somebody take care of this damn kid. He does not belong here.
And you know what I've noticed, and I'm not trying to take away from your low beams here, but one thing I've noticed is Scott Tracker is a young, non-New York version of Wheeler. You look at Scott Tracker, you look at his front profile, like head to torso. His shirt, I swear to God, looks like something from Captain fucking Planet.
And I don't dislike Scott and T-Bob like you do. I don't hate them. I think they're fine as far as characters that the kids can relate to and see themselves in. And I realize that they have to be part of the plots. But let's not do stuff that has the dad involved doing stuff that they would never do with a kid.
Exactly.
Like, I don't mind the kids somehow randomly finding themselves in something happening, like let's say something's happening by Matt's house or in the same city, and they somehow are involved because they're there. But when you are specifically bringing your kid into harm's way,
yeah,
I draw the line.
It's completely different if Scott and T-Bob sneak off and do the shit on their own and get involved on their own versus Matt essentially bringing them on the mission.
I mean, it's obvious that we are in a different country now. This is
God, I hadn't
happening.
even thought of that.
This is not happening in the USA here, people. We were in Texas before. We are not in the USA anymore. So he took his kid out of the country to put him into harm's way.
I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah.
Those are my low beams.
Oh god. Okay. Dinosaur poaching. Really? God, seriously?
It's the rhino tusk that they were after. The rhino horn.
Oh god.
Elephant tusk. And
I already mentioned the Killer Gods thing. We already talked about that. And we just got done talking about this, but I have in all caps. Why the fuck is Matt taking Scott with him? Ugh. Okay, I know I've been a broken record throughout the podcast so far. We've only had 3 episodes where we're reviewing the series episodes, but fuck T-Bob. He adds nothing but annoyance for me to this show.
The thing
he did some. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he did something in one of his scenes that just made me write that note.
Well, I think he was underutilized in these 3 episodes that we've been talking about today. Mm-hmm. When he was used in episodes 1 through 3, he was used and given, not hilarious, but given somewhat funny one-liners or things to say to add a little comedic relief. In these 3 episodes, he has not said a thing that has been funny.
Yeah.
So then he becomes pointless.
Exactly.
Because then he's like Scott's nanny, and I don't want another Snarf.
No, see, see, that's probably where you and I differ in opinion.
No, I mean like how Snarf was being a nanny to Lionel. That's how.
Right, exactly. But with how bad T-Bob is, I would gladly deal with Snarf any day over T-Bob. Now I wrote these notes in succession of what, like, as I was watching the episode. So the fuck T-Bob note must have happened before they snuck off, because my next note is fucking kid and bot sneak off again.
It was probably the first time when he was in the jungle outfit or whatever, in the mask.
That's what it was. That's what it was. At the end, before the baby says no, it's okay, whatever. The Dino Claw essentially comes down on Scott's head. That should have fucking jabbed a hole through the fucking kid's head. Honestly,
he was just petting his head. It was alright. It was a love pat.
And my final note, last episode, I think it was last episode, unless it was the very first, unless it was Deathstone. I forget what the PSAs are now. I haven't gone back and looked at the scripts. Crosswalk and crossing the street. 2 very similar messages. Because there was one PSA, again, I don't know if it was the last episode or if it was in episode 1, where, Scott is like, you should, Scott and Matt are like, yeah, you should make sure you look both ways before you cross the street. And then the PSA in this is using a crosswalk.
Yeah, it was a little redundant.
Yeah, essentially it's the same thing. I mean, yeah, you're not supposed to really, on like, say, a 4-lane highway, you're not supposed to cross in the middle of it. Even if you are looking both ways, you're supposed to use the crosswalks at traffic lights. But essentially, it's the same damn message within like a 4-episode span. Yeah, so those are my notes. Those are my low beams for this one.
I think the only thing we can do right now is turn to Bruce Sato for his words of wisdom.
M.A.S.K will be right back, and so will Venom.
An illusion is little more than a theft from the eye.
What in thunder is he talking about?
He's saying, buddy, the hand is quicker than the eye. Okay.
Hey, wait a minute! Don't evaporate me.
Are you all right, Dusty?
Well, sort of. We checked the tracks. There isn't a sign of the train anywhere.
The next station said it never reached them.
100 tons of railroad train can't just vanish.
The magician makes the rabbit vanish. But only to the eyes.
Exactly. The train is right here. We just can't see it.
But maybe your mask can.
When one lives in a new age, one must not forget the advantage of the old. Would you mind unscrambling those eggs for us? He's got a point, Dusty. The primitive instincts of the dinosauroid are probably far better than our modern technology.
Now back to M.A.S.K.
All right, now that Bruce has educated us, it's time to give our overall thoughts of the 3 episodes that we were talking about today, and obviously our M.A.S.K ratings as well. As far as my overall thoughts go for these episodes, obviously Highway to Terror was the best one of the day.
Yes.
We had a decent plot. We had the full members of the teams going down here. There was just a lot of good things about it. A little more talking as far as the characters go, so we got a little character development as well as a better plot. Mm-hmm. So I really kind of liked Highway to Terror.
Yeah.
Video Venom had the potential, but they just couldn't decide what to do with that episode, it seemed like. And for me, it was too much plot, too many directions, and too complicated.
It was like, okay, say you make a 5-year plan, and that 5-year plan has 10 steps within it. You don't sit there and add, each year as you accomplish, say you have 10 steps in a 5-year plan. The first 2 years, or the first 2.5 years, you get your first 5 steps done. The next 2.5 years, you get your final 5 steps done. In the middle of it, in year 3.5, you don't add 6 more steps. Video Venom had so much going on with Venom. No wonder they fucking failed.
Yeah, there's way too much it's only 22 minutes, guys. You have to actually develop a plot, not just throw 18 plots at you and then...
Exactly.
But at the same time, I did like the fact that was an episode that kind of marked a little bit of a transition into a faster M.A.S.K assembly and M.A.S.K power-up segment, as well as Matt Tracker saying personnel approved and assemble mobile armored strike command. That was kind of the cool part of that episode, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we went to Dinosaur Boy, and for me, it first of all makes no sense to have a dinosaur involved. It makes no sense to be in another country out of nowhere. And
taking your kid to another country.
And the kid being there, and everything was just, again, tied up in nice little bows at the end, nice and easy, nice and clean. It just didn't work for me. I don't know. What do you think about these 3 episodes?
Highway to Terror is by far the best one. As I mentioned before, Video Venom, way too many steps, as you said. I do like the same things you do about that episode with the slightly faster assembling of the team and Matt saying that stuff. At its core of this series so far, I wouldn't say Matt Tracker is a deadbeat dad, but he's a very flaky dad. He'll try to get Scott to do the right thing in one point, and then the next point he'll just completely flake and take his kid to another country. Okay, first of all, this is a few years after the show went off the air. In 1992, my dad and I went up to Canada. Well, as a 12-year-old, obviously, I didn't need a passport, but, my dad needed all his you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You need all that stuff. You can't just cross, state borders and, well, not state borders, but, federal lines and whatever else just to go. I mean, even if you are a super secret military branch of whatever, not saying that M.A.S.K is a military branch of the government, but you know what I mean? It's like, you still have to have a reason for, I don't know. And Dinosaur Boy was just fucking dumb. As you said, episode 1 they were, building up, episode 2 building up, episode 3 building up, 4 and 5 building up, and then immediately takes it back down to, hey, here's no development whatsoever in an episode.
And a plot that makes no sense to the overall concept of M.A.S.K and Venom.
No, not
it's like
at all.
M.A.S.K and Venom thrown into Dinosaur World.
No.
I don't understand.
We've essentially talked about the PSAs already.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I do remember, and I always adhered to this because I used to love swimming as a kid. I do remember those PSAs of, don't dive into shallow water and stuff like that. So
I like that he even mentioned it. He's like 9 feet. It looks like that's good depth.
Yeah, but how the fuck does he know it's 9 feet?
Because he's a genius.
I could see if he had his mask on. Yeah, I could see that. Like Spectrum could, analyze the depth, but he didn't have his mask on.
Even though I liked it the best, the making sure your ladders are level is the weirdest one of the day.
It's just dumb.
And then, cheating on the crosswalk because you already did that.
Yeah.
So our mask rating, 0 to 5 masks, 0 being the worst, 5 being the best. What do you give Highway to Terror?
4 out of 5.
All right.
Best score so far.
I gave Highway to Terror a tie for my best score so far. I did give it a 3. There was just a couple things wouldn't let me bump it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly the end where Mayhem shoots at Matt and blows the thing up. That bugged me as an easy way to end it. So I gave it a 3. What about Video Venom?
2 out of 5. There's, as we said, there's too much going on with Venom's plot. Yeah. And for me, invincible laser, except sunlight will be able to melt. That was just dumb. So 2 out of 5 for that.
I am going to agree with you and give that one a 2. I think that's the first time we've agreed.
Yes.
Like I said, it had potential. It could have been a better episode.
Mm-hmm.
It just got derailed too many times.
Yes.
Too many times. And how about Dinosaur Boy?
Goose egg, big fat fucking 0. I will never ever watch this episode ever again. It essentially took away plot from M.A.S.K and Venom. There was no. Okay, I know Venom is out to make millions, and they were going to sell the dino DNA to this guy, but it just. Oh, God, this episode is just so fucking bad.
And I echo that sentiment. I'll give it a 1. I'm not ready to give anything a 0 quite yet, but this is by far the worst episode we've seen so far. So that was Highway to Terror, a 3 and a 4. Video Venom, 2s across the board. And Dinosaur Boy, a 1 and a 0. So it can only go up from here.
Let's hope.
All right. Thank you for being a part of Mass Mayhem today. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, www.geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on all our posts. There's also, like we said last episode, a button there where you can leave a voicemail with just the use of a microphone on your own computer. You don't have to call anything. You can also send email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Leave the show's feedback in iTunes, although you cannot any longer be the first to do that because we have had our first iTunes review.
Yes, we have.
3 episodes in, and we have our first review. I like it. The episode or the review title is Good Podcast. It is a 5-star review by The Rook, left April 24th, and it is basically written like this. It says, enjoyed listening to the podcast more than I enjoyed rewatching these episodes. This cartoon is a tough watch. The episodes do not age well. M.A.S.K, with the periods, M.A.S.K, requires beers, B-E-E-R-S with the periods, while watching, but the podcast was good. May also check out some of your other podcasts. Keep up the good work, guys. Well, thank you for that review, The Rook, and hopefully more of you can leave us reviews, what you like, what you don't like that we're doing, or suggestions, or any type of criticism. We will take it all in and make it better. So do that. Follow us on Twitter, Geekcast Radio. Mine is Optimus Solo, and yours is...
TFG and Mike.
and become a fan of us on Facebook, Geekcast Radio Network. If you do want to call the voicemail line and actually do a physical call and tell us the show you're leaving the message for, which is Mass Mayhem, and give us something to call you, and call the number 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Mass Mayhem, and don't forget to join us on our next crusade when we will be discussing episodes 7 and 8 and hoping it goes up from where we were at with episode 6. The episode titles are The Ultimate Weapon and The Rotex. For now, I'm Optimus Solo with
TFG1 Mike.
Tune in next time when we take another look at what lies behind the masquerades.
Illusion is the ultimate weapon.